Welcome back to the Minimalist Living Lab. I'm Hart, and this is your daily space to slow down, look inward, and design a life rooted in clarity and intention. Today's episode is titled Mindful Consumption: Buy Less, Choose Better. It's about conscious spending, not deprivation, not guilt, but awareness. It's about stepping off the treadmill of impulse and marketing pressure and stepping into a deeper relationship with the things you choose to bring into your life. Because let's face it, we all spend. But do we know why? Let's begin. Let's begin with a story. A few years ago, I stood in front of my closet and realized something strange. It was full, and yet I had nothing to wear. You know that feeling? Shirts with tags still on. Shoes I'd only worn once. Jackets that looked better on someone else. Drawer after drawer of maybes, somedays, and I should keep this just in case. I remember sitting on the floor, looking around, and thinking, how did I get here? The answer was uncomfortable, but simple. I wasn't shopping for clothes. I was shopping for confidence. I was shopping for identity. I was shopping for approval. And most of all, I was shopping on autopilot. That's what unconscious spending looks like. It's not reckless or wild, it's quietly habitual. It creeps in through everyday decisions. An extra latte here. A $9 subscription there. A limited time offer you didn't plan to use, but bought anyway. And the damage isn't just to your bank account. It goes deeper than that. The space it occupies. Every item you bring into your home, no matter how small, asks for something in return. It takes up space. Physical space on your shelves. Mental space in your decisions. Emotional space in your awareness. The more you accumulate, the more your environment begins to feel noisy. You're surrounded by visual clutter, invisible guilt, and the subtle pressure to organize things you never really needed in the first place. You know what that clutter whispers every day? You should do something about me. You should clean. You should use me more. You should feel bad. And slowly, you start associating your own living space, not with peace or comfort, but with low-level stress. Time, the hidden cost. Let's not forget time. Every item you own also costs time. Time to clean. Time to store. Time to maintain. Time to look for the things buried under other things. You spend time researching products you might never use, comparing options you don't need, returning things you regret buying. Time you could have used for rest. For creativity. For being present with your kids, your partner, yourself. That's the silent tragedy of unconscious consumption. It doesn't just drain your wallet. It steals your life energy. Emotional debt. Here's something we rarely talk about: emotional debt. Every time you buy something with the hope that it will fix something internal. A feeling of not being enough. A fear of missing out. A desire to feel seen, stylish, validated. You're entering into an emotional contract that the object can never fulfill. So it wears off. The thrill fades. The solution doesn't stick. And you're left with the same feeling that made you buy in the first place. Only now, you've also added a little more clutter, a little more guilt, and a little less trust in yourself. How marketing hijacks your mind. Let's be honest. We are constantly being nudged, manipulated, and targeted to spend. From personalized ads in your feed, to psychological tricks like scarcity, urgency, social proof. Marketing doesn't just sell products anymore. It sells identities. You're not just buying this phone. You're becoming a better version of yourself. You're not just ordering this skincare. You're joining the tribe of the glowing, the confident, the worthy. The result? You end up chasing an ideal of yourself that's always just one purchase away. But it's a moving target. You never quite arrive. You never quite feel done. That's the business model. And it works, unless you wake up. When more leaves you with less. There's this illusion that more is better. More choice, more options, more convenience. but in practice, more often leaves us with less. Less clarity, less peace, less appreciation for what we already have. Have you ever noticed how your favorite moments in life are often the simplest? A quiet dinner with someone you love. A walk outside with nothing in your pockets. A book you've read 3 times. None of that came from a checkout page. The mindful pause. So, what's the way out? It begins with a pause. Before you click buy now, ask, am I tired? Am I avoiding something? Am I trying to change how I feel? Because if the answer is yes, the solution probably isn't in your cart. It's in your awareness. Mindful consumption is not about guilt. It's about freedom. Freedom to buy what truly adds value. Freedom from chasing trends that don't reflect who you are. Freedom from living in reaction mode. A moment of stillness. Let's try something together right now. Close your eyes. Imagine your living space completely free of things that don't serve you. Imagine a closet filled only with items you wear and love. A desk with tools that fuel your creativity. A kitchen with ingredients you use often. A home that breathes. That's not minimalism for aesthetic's sake. That's clarity. And clarity gives you back something money can't buy. Peace. So yes, unconscious spending has a cost. And it's higher than we think. But here's the good news. The shift begins with noticing. Noticing the habit. Noticing the emotion. Noticing the moment when you can choose differently. And that's where we're going next, into the heart of what conscious spending really means. Let's keep going. Let's get something clear from the beginning. Conscious spending is not about becoming a monk. It's not about counting every penny or denying yourself joy. It's about waking up. Waking up to where your money is going. Waking up to how your purchases are shaping your identity, your space, and your peace of mind. Waking up to the why behind the buy. Because in a world that constantly nudges you to spend without thinking, conscious spending is a radical act of self-awareness. Conscious spending equals alignment. At its core, conscious spending is about alignment. Alignment between your values and your actions. Between your long-term goals and your daily choices. Between the life you want and the life you're actually building, one transaction at a time. It's easy to say, I value simplicity. But then buy 5 new gadgets because they were on sale. It's easy to say, I want financial freedom. But then order takeout 3 nights a week because you're too overwhelmed to cook. No judgment, just awareness. The first step is to pause and ask, do my spending habits reflect the life I say I want? That one question can change everything. The 3 layers of conscious spending. Let's break it down into something practical, 3 layers you can bring into every purchase decision. Layer 1, intentionality. Ask, do I actually need this? Not just want, not just like, but need. Will it serve a purpose? Will it enhance your life in a meaningful way? If not, do pause. Sit with the urge. See if it passes. Most of the time, it will. Layer 2, timing. Impulse is the enemy of clarity. So instead of buying immediately, practice the 24 or 72-hour rule. Let time be your filter. If it still feels like a good idea after a few days, go for it. But more often than not, distance reveals desire for what it truly is, distraction. Layer 3, energy exchange. Every purchase is an exchange, not just of money, but of energy. You're trading your time, your effort, your presence for something. So ask, is this a good trade? Is this thing worth the hours of life it cost me to earn it? That question alone has saved me from countless empty purchases. Conscious spending is not equal to cheap spending. Now let me say something important. Conscious spending does not mean always choosing the cheapest option. In fact, sometimes it means spending more, but with purpose. Buying 1 high-quality item instead of 5 low-quality ones. Investing in services or tools that give you back time, peace, or energy. Choosing brands that align with your ethics, even if it costs a bit more. Because cheap isn't always better. And expensive isn't always bad. It's not about the price tag, it's about the relationship. A conscious spender isn't just price conscious. They're value conscious. Buying with presence. Have you ever walked into a store or scrolled a site and just checked out mentally? Your brain goes on autopilot. You're barely there. That's exactly what unconscious consumption wants. It thrives on speed, distraction, and overwhelm. Conscious spending is the opposite. It's deliberate. It's slow. It invites you to pause and be present in the moment of choice. Try this next time you shop. Take a deep breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Ask, what am I really trying to solve here? Is it a real need or an emotional itch? Even just one breath between impulse and action can change the outcome. Practical practices for conscious spending. Let's ground this in real life. Here are a few mindful practices that can help you shift from impulse to intention. 1. Create a personal yes list. Instead of focusing only on what not to buy, define what you do want to spend on. Books, experiences, tools that improve your craft. Having a clear yes list makes decision-making easier and guilt-free. 2. Keep a joy per dollar journal. Try this. For 30 days, track your purchases and rate them. Not just how much you spent, but how much joy or utility you got from it. You'll quickly see patterns. You'll see which categories truly uplift you and which ones just drain your account and your mood. 3. Define your spending values. What do you care about? Sustainability? Supporting small businesses? Minimalism? Let your values guide your wallet. Because every dollar spent is a small act of advocacy. Why this matters? You might be wondering, why all this effort? Because conscious spending isn't just about saving money. It's about reclaiming control. It's about no longer outsourcing your joy to the next package delivery. It's about stepping off the consumer treadmill and building a life where you no longer feel owned by your stuff. And more than that, it's about restoring the sacredness of choice. In a world where we're bombarded with thousands of buying opportunities every day, the ability to pause, reflect, and choose consciously is a form of freedom. The minimalist path isn't about lack. It's about discernment. And conscious spending is one of its sharpest tools. So the next time you reach for your wallet, pause. Ask, does this choice serve my future or just my momentary mood? That one question can shift your entire relationship with money. Let's keep going. Let's take a deep breath together. In through the nose. And out through the mouth. Now, let's go beneath the surface. Because beneath every transaction, behind every purchase, there's a story. And often, that story isn't about the object, it's about us. You see, money is rarely just money. Spending is rarely just spending. It's emotion. It's memory. It's hope. And sometimes, it's pain. We buy with emotion, not logic. Here's a truth we don't say out loud enough. We don't buy things because we need them. We buy because of how we hope they'll make us feel. That new outfit? We're hoping it'll make us feel confident. That new kitchen gadget? We're hoping it'll make us feel productive, maybe even competent. That expensive skincare routine? We're hoping it'll make us feel more beautiful, more accepted. And sometimes, that third coffee of the day? We just want to feel cared for. Marketing knows this. It's not selling you the item, it's selling you relief. Relief from boredom. Relief from loneliness. Relief from that quiet, uncomfortable emptiness you sometimes feel and can't quite name. So we click add to cart, not because we want the item, but because we want to feel better. The pain-reward cycle. Let me tell you what happens in the brain when you buy something impulsively. You get a little hit of dopamine, the same chemical released during eating, social interaction, or even falling in love. It gives you a temporary high. A micro moment of control. A small, sharp yes in a day that may otherwise feel blurry or out of rhythm. But here's the catch, it fades fast. And when it does, you're left with the same discomfort as before, plus the extra weight of another thing, another expense, another decision. Over time, this creates a loop. An invisible cycle of emotional spending. Feel uncomfortable by something, feel relief, relief fades, repeat. We don't even realize it. But our spending becomes less about utility and more about soothing. The types of emotional spending. Let's name some of the most common emotional spending triggers, because naming them gives you power over them. 1. Boredom. You're not stimulated. There's no adventure, no meaning in the moment, so you shop to inject novelty. But the excitement rarely lasts past delivery. 2. Stress and overwhelm. When everything feels too much, buying gives you a false sense of control. I can't fix my life right now, but I can buy this planner. I can't solve this relationship, but maybe a new dress will change something. 3. Loneliness. You're craving connection, but instead of calling a friend or sitting with that discomfort, you scroll, add, swipe, spend. You're filling a relational void with transactional noise. 4. Guilt. Especially common for parents, partners, or caretakers. You feel like you're not doing enough, so you compensate with gifts. But what most people want isn't more stuff, it's your presence. 5. Identity confusion. This is subtle but powerful. When you're unsure who you are, buying becomes a way to try on different versions of yourself. You buy the yoga mat, hoping you'll become the person who uses it. You buy the cookbook, hoping it'll spark a new lifestyle. There's nothing wrong with aspiration. But when we keep buying symbols instead of building substance, we remain stuck in a loop of becoming, never being. Healing the emotional habit. So how do we stop? Not by blaming ourselves. Not by swinging into guilt or shame. But by becoming gentle witnesses of our own patterns. Here's a simple 3-step process I use in my own life, and that I invite you to try. Step 1. Pause when the urge hits. The moment you feel that pull, whether online or in a store, pause. Don't judge it. Just breathe. And ask yourself, what emotion am I feeling right now? What do I hope this purchase will fix or fulfill? What am I truly needing in this moment? Sometimes the answer will surprise you. It's not the candle or the coat or the gadget. It's rest. It's validation. It's touch. It's silence. Step 2. Choose a non-spending alternative. Create a list in your phone, emotional alternatives. Fill it with things that comfort or ground you that don't cost money. Step outside and feel the air. Brew tea. Slowly. Write in your journal. 1 page. Text a close friend and say, I just needed to feel connected. Lay down. Do nothing. Really. Nothing. You'd be amazed how often your nervous system resets before the checkout button. Step 3. Reflect later. If you did buy something emotionally, don't beat yourself up. Instead, reflect. What triggered me? What emotion was I trying to shift? Did the item actually help? What could I try next time? This kind of emotional inventory is how you learn. It turns every impulse into insight. Every mistake into a step forward. You are not broken for feeling this way. Let me say something gently, but clearly. You are not weak for emotionally spending. You are not irresponsible. You are not broken. You're human. You're navigating a world that's been engineered to make you feel like you're not enough. So you'll keep buying things to feel better. But here's the truth. You are already enough. Even with the discomfort. Even when you're bored, or lonely, or overwhelmed. Especially then. Emotional minimalism. Here's a phrase I love, emotional minimalism. It means simplifying not just your stuff, but your emotional inputs. Letting go of the stories that tell you you're not lovable unless you're impressive. Letting go of the idea that success is measured in purchases. letting go of the belief that consumption equals progress, and replacing those stories with presence, with self-trust, with the courage to sit in the in-between and say, I am enough, even if I buy nothing today. One final practice. Before we move to the next part of our journey, I want to leave you with a simple practice. Next time you feel the urge to buy, try writing one sentence. I want this because I want to feel underscored. And then pause. That one sentence can reveal everything. You might still buy. You might not. But either way, you'll have chosen consciously. And that is the shift we're here to make. Let's keep going. So far, we've talked about awareness, about recognizing the unconscious patterns that drive our spending, boredom, stress, the desire to feel enough. But here's the truth, even with all that awareness, the world won't slow down. Your inbox will still ping you with flash sales. Your social feed will still whisper you need this in beautifully filtered voices. And your own emotions will still, from time to time, crave comfort. That's why awareness needs a partner. A practical tool. Something that stands between you and impulse, not to stop you out of fear, but to support you with clarity. That tool is your personal spending filter. What is a spending filter? Imagine a mental checklist you pass every potential purchase through. Not a strict rulebook. Not a rigid budget. But a simple, intentional set of questions that helps you choose instead of react. A spending filter isn't there to shame you. It's there to anchor you. To remind you, right in the moment, of who you are and who you're becoming. Because here's something powerful. You don't need more discipline. You need better design. Design for your attention. Design for your energy. Design for your money. And that begins with filtering the noise. My personal 5-question filter. Let me walk you through the 5 questions I personally use. I keep these saved on my phone. Sometimes I speak them out loud when I'm tempted. They've saved me hundreds of dollars, and just as importantly, hours of regret. 1. Do I truly need this, or just feel like I do right now? This question separates urgency from reality. Just because something feels like a need in the moment, doesn't mean it will still feel that way tomorrow. If you wait 24 to 72 hours and still feel the same pull, and it aligns with the rest of the filter, then maybe it's a yes. But 9 times out of 10, that must-have-it energy fades like fog. 2. Is this a response to emotion or a reflection of intention? Am I shopping because I'm tired? Lonely? Avoiding something else? Or is this purchase rooted in who I'm becoming and the kind of life I want to live? Here's the trick, don't just ask. Feel. Check in with your body. If your chest is tight or your breath is shallow, it's likely an emotional reaction. If you feel grounded and calm, that's often your intention speaking. 3. Will this still matter to me in 6 months? We underestimate how quickly novelty fades. That shiny thing you're eyeing right now? Try imagining it 6 months from today. In your room. In your life. Still used? Still loved? Or buried in a drawer? This question brings time into the equation because true value lasts. Impulse rarely does. 4. Am I adding clarity or adding clutter? Every item you bring into your space is either sharpening your life or fogging it up. That includes digital clutter, subscriptions, apps, tabs, and emotional clutter, things that carry regret or guilt. Ask. Does this item replace something? Does it help simplify a system in my life? Or does it just add another layer I'll need to manage later? This single question transformed the way I bought clothes, tools, even books. Now, instead of will I use it, I ask, will this bring light into my space or noise? 5. Is this a yes from my values or a reaction from my mood? This might be the most important one. Values don't shout. They don't surge in your bloodstream like excitement or anxiety. They're quiet. They're steady. And you can only hear them if you pause long enough to listen. So ask yourself, does this choice align with the person I say I want to be? If you value sustainability, is this fast fashion item still a yes? If you value time with family, does this purchase help or pull you away? Values help us make decisions we're proud of later, not just excited about now. Design your own filter. Now, those are my 5. But your life is yours. Your values are unique. So I invite you to create your own. Here's how. Identify your top 3 values. What do you care about deeply? Freedom, simplicity, creativity, generosity. Think of past purchases you regretted. What pattern do you notice? Emotional spending? Trend chasing? Status seeking? Think of past purchases you loved. What made them worth it? Usefulness? Beauty? Longevity? Turn those insights into 3 to 5 filter questions. Make them clear. Make them yours. Make them visible. Put them on a sticky note. Make them your phone wallpaper. Or set them as a reminder to pop up every time you open a shopping app. Because conscious choices don't just happen, they're designed for. What happens when you use a spending filter? At first, it might feel like resistance. You'll pause at checkout. Second guess your cart. Feel the pull of, but I want it. But over time, something beautiful happens. You begin to feel empowered. You realize that not buying doesn't mean missing out. It means staying true. It means spending not just money, but attention, energy, and time in a way that honors your life. You start to trust yourself again. Not just in big decisions, but in the quiet, daily ones. And that self-trust? That's wealth. A story from my life. Let me share a moment. A few months ago, I was traveling and passed a bookstore. In the window was a gorgeous hardcover edition of a novel I'd loved years ago. It had gold foil lettering, a cloth cover, and one of those little ribbon bookmarks that made it feel like a treasure. I walked in. I picked it up. My hand almost moved to my wallet. But then I asked myself, is this a yes from my values or from nostalgia? I realized I already owned a copy. A simple paperback. And I hadn't read it in 3 years. What I really wanted wasn't the book, it was to feel connected to who I used to be when I first read it. So I walked away. Slowly. And you know what? I didn't feel deprived. I felt clear. That's the magic of a filter. It gives you the space to see what you're really reaching for. And the strength to say, I honor that desire, but I don't need to fulfill it through stuff. Final words, filters aren't fences. Let me end with this. Your spending filter is not a fence. It's not meant to trap you, to deny you joy, or to make you feel small. It's a lens. A compass. A bridge back to yourself. It helps you say no not just to items, but to overwhelm. To anxiety. To clutter. To unconsciousness. And more importantly, it helps you say yes to the things that truly matter. To peace. To presence. To freedom. So next time you're standing in front of a product, online or off, pause. Let your filter speak. And trust that your deepest wisdom doesn't live in your cart. It lives in your clarity. Let's keep going. Let's be honest, quality over quantity sounds nice on paper. It's one of those minimalist mantras that looks good on a poster or stitched onto a pillow in a curated living room. But in real life, it takes courage. Because we live in a world that's addicted to more. More clothes. More apps. More upgrades. More options, more styles, more sales. We're surrounded by the illusion that having more means being more. But here's what I've learned the hard way. More often leads to less. Less clarity. Less satisfaction. Less connection to the things we actually own. So today, I want to gently challenge that narrative. to offer you a different lens, one that prioritizes depth over breadth, presence over possession, and lasting joy over fleeting excitement. Let's talk about what it really means to live by quality over quantity. The hidden cost of cheap. Let's start with something uncomfortable. Cheap things often cost more. Not always in dollars, but in other currencies. In time. In energy. In stress. The $15 sweater that pills after 2 washes. The plastic container that warps after 1 round in the dishwasher. The low-cost headphones that break within 3 weeks and need replacing again and again. Each time you replace something that wasn't built to last, you pay again. And not just in money. You pay in attention, by having to think about the problem again. You pay in space, as broken items pile up. You pay in frustration, as expectations aren't met. So while quality may cost more up front, it often costs far less in the long run. Quality has a soul. Have you ever owned something that just felt right? A cast iron pan passed down from your grandmother. A hand-stitched leather notebook that wears beautifully over time. A sweater that gets softer every winter and somehow still fits who you're becoming. These items don't just do their job. They stay. They carry memory, texture, meaning. They aren't just tools, they become part of your rhythm. That's what I mean when I say quality has a soul. It's not about price tags. It's about craftsmanship, intention, and resonance. When something is made with care, and you choose it with care, it forms a relationship with your life. And relationships, not transactions, are what we're truly after. The illusion of choice. Let's pause and talk about a strange paradox of modern life. We have more choices than ever. And yet we feel more overwhelmed than ever. Walk into any supermarket, how many kinds of toothpaste are there? How many brands of cereal, shampoo, pens, phone chargers? We're drowning in options. But what we're really searching for is certainty. That's the promise behind all this choice. There's a perfect one out there. Keep looking. But what if the pursuit of perfect is what's keeping us stuck? When you choose quantity, you're constantly comparing. When you choose quality, you're constantly appreciating. Fewer things. But each one a quiet yes. That's how you reclaim peace in a noisy world. Buy once, love often. There's a practice I've started using, and I invite you to try it too. I call it, buy once, love often. The idea is simple. When I need something, I slow down. I research. I ask questions. I choose the highest quality version I can reasonably afford. Not the flashiest. Not the trendiest. The most honest. The one that aligns with how I live and what I value. And then, I stop. I stop searching. I stop scrolling. I stop second-guessing. I let the item become part of my life, and I let time deepen my appreciation for it. And here's the magic. When you buy with intention, you're more likely to use what you buy. And the more you use something, the more it becomes yours, not just in ownership, but in identity. Less stuff, more story. I once met someone who lived in a small studio apartment with maybe 30 items total. It wasn't bare. It wasn't cold. It was beautiful. Every object had a place, a function, and a story. A chipped mug from her travels in Japan. A hand-woven rug she saved up for and still loved 5 years later. A pair of boots that had been resoled 3 times, but still fit like a second skin. That home didn't feel like a showroom. It felt like a journal. Every item whispered, I matter. That's the gift of choosing quality. It invites you to create a life full of story, not stuff. Quality isn't just for things. Let me zoom out for a moment. When we say quality over quantity, we're not just talking about physical items. We're talking about conversations. Would you rather have 100 surface-level chats or one deep, honest connection? Friendships. Do you want a sea of contacts or a few people who know your truth? Experiences. Is it better to rush through 5 tourist stops or sit quietly in one place and truly absorb it? When we practice quality in what we buy, we begin to live differently. More slowly, more richly, more in tune with what nourishes us. How to choose quality in a quantity world. Let me offer some guiding thoughts. 1. Start with fewer, better. When in doubt, choose fewer, but better. Buy one pen you love to write with instead of 5 that skip and scratch. Choose one skillet you trust over a set that warps in heat. 2. Ask, will this age with me? Will this grow with you, not just survive, but belong to the seasons of your life? 3. Know your enough point. Quality also means knowing when you have enough. Not when you own everything you want, but when you use and love what you already have. 4. Invest in care, not just acquisition. Caring for what you have is the ultimate act of respect. Polishing, mending, maintaining, these are rituals of relationship, not chores. Final reflection. Here's the truth. Minimalism isn't about having nothing. It's about having the right things, and fewer of them, so you can be more present, more free, more you. When you choose quality, you choose items that support your life instead of distracting from it. Tools that last instead of fading. Beauty that deepens with time instead of vanishing after one scroll. So the next time you're tempted by more, pause. Ask yourself, what would it look like to choose better, instead of just choosing again? Because when we stop chasing quantity, we finally begin living in quality. Let's keep going. Let's talk about something we all think about, sometimes quietly, sometimes with urgency. Money. Not just how we earn it, but how we relate to it. Not just how much we have, but how much power we feel over it. Because here's something we don't say often enough. Financial freedom doesn't start with more money. It starts with more clarity, more awareness, more intention, more alignment between what we value and where our money goes. In other words, financial freedom starts with conscious spending. The myth of when I make more. How many times have you said something like, once I make more, I'll feel secure. Once I hit that next salary level, I'll finally be free. If only I had X dollars, I'd finally breathe. And yet, you get the raise. You land the bonus. You hit the number. But that sense of peace? It doesn't last. Because more income doesn't automatically equal more freedom. Not if your habits and relationship with money remain unconscious. As Jim Rohn famously said, it's not the amount that counts, it's the plan. And I'd add, it's also the awareness behind the plan. Where your money goes, your life follows. Let's pause here and reflect. What if every dollar you spend is a seed you're planting in your future? Where are those seeds going? Are they growing your peace? Or your stress? Are they nourishing your well-being? Or feeding your fear of not having enough? Conscious spending turns every transaction into a vote, a quiet declaration of who you are and what you care about. If you value creativity, are you spending in ways that support it? If you value rest, are your purchases aligned with that lifestyle? If you say you want freedom, are you investing in habits that actually lead there? When we begin asking these questions, something powerful happens. We stop leaking money and start directing it. Leaks, loops, and liberation. Let's talk about where money often leaks. It leaks through forgotten subscriptions. Through daily habits that feel small but add up, $5 here, $12 there, $49 per month for something you haven't used in 6 months. It leaks through emotional spending loops we explored earlier, retail therapy that soothes, but doesn't solve. And most dangerously, it leaks through indifference. Through the slow erosion of attention. Because every unintentional choice we make isn't neutral, it adds weight. Financial, emotional, and energetic. Conscious spending is how we seal the leaks. It's how we build financial liberation not through restriction, but through alignment. The emotional side of financial freedom. Here's what most financial advice misses. Money is emotional. It touches safety, identity, pride, shame, control. Some of us learn to fear money. Some of us use it to prove our worth. Some of us avoid it entirely because it feels heavy. But conscious spending is an invitation to make peace with money, to bring it out of the shadows, to treat it not as a burden, but as a mirror. When you begin spending with intention, you begin healing your relationship with money. You move from, "I shouldn't spend on this," to, "Does this truly serve me?" From, "I never have enough," to, "I choose what enough looks like for me." From, "Money stresses me out," to, "Money is a tool I can learn to trust." And that shift? That's the foundation of financial freedom. Building your conscious spending system. Let's make this real. Here are 4 steps to bring conscious spending into your financial world. Step 1. Define your financial values. Ask yourself, what do I care about most in life? What do I want money to help me experience or express? What does rich actually mean to me? Maybe it's time. Maybe it's spaciousness. Maybe it's the ability to support your family or your art. Let your values be the compass that guides your financial decisions. Step 2. Audit your spending without judgment. For 1 week, just track every dollar, every swipe, every click. Not to shame yourself, but to see yourself. This is about clarity, not control. Awareness, not austerity. You might be surprised what the numbers reveal. Step 3. Create a yes fund and a no boundary. Designate a portion of your budget for spending that truly brings you joy. Books, tools, courses, date nights, travel, whatever aligns. Label it your yes fund so you spend without guilt, but with joyful permission. At the same time, draw your no boundary. For me, that's random home gadgets I don't need. For you, it might be fast fashion or impulse tech. Know what drains you and have the courage to say, that's no longer part of my story. Step 4. Automate what matters. If peace is your goal, automate it. Set up automatic transfers to savings. Break down big goals into tiny steps. Use tech not to buy more, but to remember better. Let your systems support your soul. Redefining wealth. Let me leave you with this thought. Maybe wealth isn't a number. Maybe it's a feeling. A feeling of spaciousness, of sovereignty, of knowing that you are no longer ruled by impulse, but guided by purpose. Maybe wealth is a quiet home with less noise, a schedule with breathing room, a closet with fewer items, but all of them loved, a life that fits you instead of forcing you to keep up. And maybe, just maybe, financial freedom doesn't start when you finally make enough. It starts the moment you say, "What I already have, I choose to use well." That is the power of conscious spending. Let's keep going. Let's pause. Right here. Right now. Take a slow, deep breath. And let it go. You've come a long way. From recognizing the unconscious habits that sneak into your wallet, to exploring the emotional landscapes behind every add to cart, to building a personal filter that protects your clarity, and to learning how conscious spending isn't just about money, it's about freedom. But before we wrap this journey, I want to talk about something deeper than strategy. Your story. Because that's what conscious consumption is really about. Not just saving money. Not just decluttering. But rewriting the narrative you've been living in, often without knowing it. What story have you been told? Think back to your childhood. What did money mean in your home? Was it scarce? Was it silent? Was it a source of conflict? Of power? Of shame? Were you taught that success means having a lot? Or that wanting things makes you greedy? These stories, spoken or unspoken, run deep. They shape how we treat ourselves, how we justify our spending, how we cope, how we dream. And unless we name them, we continue living them. On repeat. But here's the beautiful truth. You are allowed to outgrow the story you were handed. You are allowed to write something new. Something gentler. Something wiser. Something that feels like you. A new story begins with choice. So what does that look like? It starts not with a grand gesture, but with small, quiet decisions. You walk past the sale rack, not because you can't buy it, but because you don't need to prove anything. You delete the shopping app, not out of fear, but out of respect for your attention. You fix the thing you already own, not because you're broke, but because you value continuity. These are not restrictions. They're reclamations. Each choice says, I am no longer owned by the outside world. I choose to live in alignment, not in reaction. I trust myself to know what is enough. That's the new story. Not one of denial, but of sovereignty. The story you're building with your life. Every room in your home tells a story. Every purchase, every object, every empty space. So here's the invitation. What story do you want your life to tell? Do you want it to whisper intentional? To echo calm? To hum with the quiet power of enough? Then begin choosing items that belong to that story. Let go of the things that were bought in haste, and confusion, and fear. Not with guilt, but with gratitude for the role they played in showing you what you no longer need. Every time you let go, you make space, not just on your shelf, but in your mind. Space to think. Space to breathe. Space to live. The person you're becoming. Here's the part we often miss. You are not just buying things. You are buying identity. You're sculpting yourself. Every object you welcome into your life reflects something deeper, a belief, a value, a hope. So ask yourself, are my things helping me become more me? Or are they just masking the parts of me I'm afraid to see? When you choose fewer, better, more meaningful items, something remarkable happens. You begin to see yourself more clearly. Not through filters. Not through brands. But through the quiet integrity of someone who knows who they are. And when you live from that place, your presence becomes magnetic. Your choices become peaceful. Your life begins to flow. From consumer to curator. You are not a passive consumer. You are a curator. Of your space. Of your schedule. Of your financial energy. Of your attention. Curation means asking, does this belong in the museum of my life? Would future me walk into this life and say, yes, this reflects who I am. This is enough. This is beautiful. That's the shift. From collecting to composing. From reacting to refining. And the result? A life that no longer overwhelms you, but supports you. That no longer clutters your mind, but clarifies your spirit. The everyday practice of rewriting. You don't have to get it perfect. You just have to stay honest. Every day, you will be tempted. You'll scroll. You'll want. You'll wonder. But now, you have tools. You have awareness. You have pause. And with each moment of clarity, each small no that honors your bigger yes, you are rewriting the story of what it means to live well. Not by having everything, but by loving what you have. A final reflection. Before we end today, I want to offer one last practice. Tonight, take 5 minutes. Grab a journal. And write this sentence at the top of the page. My new story with money, space, and consumption is. Then just write. Don't edit. Don't overthink. Just let your wiser self speak. Let them remind you that you are not behind. You are not defined by what you own. You are not meant to fill your emptiness with objects. You are meant to live with presence. To move through the world with calm and clarity. To choose, to change, to create. And every day, with every decision, big or small, you have the power to return to that truth. You don't have to consume to become. You already are. Let's keep going. Before we close today, I want to offer you a gentle challenge. For the next week, keep a spending journal. Not just what you bought, but why. Notice the moments you feel the urge to buy. Is it boredom? Is it comparison? Is it excitement? Bring awareness. That's it. Because the real shift begins not with what's in your cart, but with what's in your mind. Thank you for joining me today on the Minimalist Living Lab. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who's been rethinking their relationship with money. Until next time, spend with intention, live with clarity, and always come home to yourself.